So friends, we are discussing one of the most central concepts of sociology. I would say that subject of sociology is basically the study of social stratification. In this respect, I would like to begin with a paragraph from a textbook of sociology written by Horton and Hunt. This is from the library P. B. Horton and C. L. Hunt. This gives a beautiful description of what social stratification is. It says, it's a long paragraph and you don't have to note it down. Just see what this paragraph says. It says, to quote, Aristotle observed 2 million years ago. Aristotle observed 2 millennia ago that populations tended to be divided into 3 groups. What are these groups? The very rich, the very poor, and those in between. Very rich, very poor, and in between. 2 millennia ago means about 2000 years ago, a philosopher named Aristotle, you must have heard his name, said that all societies are divided into, or at least the society of his time, was divided into 3 groups: very rich, very poor, and those in between. This was his understanding of social stratification. Then this paragraph says, for Karl Marx, the principal social classes were the wage workers, the proletariat, and the capitalists, in parenthesis, the bourgeoisie, with the middle group, in parenthesis, the petty bourgeois. Let me write these classes for you. Aristotle identified 3 groups in society. What these 3 groups are? The very rich, the very poor, and those in between. Karl Marx wage workers who earn from wages, and they are called the proletariat. Another class, and the capitalists. The term for capitalist is the bourgeoisie. And one class in between, with the middle group, the petty bourgeois. The petty bourgeoisie. which was on the way out. Karl Marx says that this petty bourgeoisie or the middle class is on the way out. Basically, as capitalist society will advance, it will get divided into two classes only: wage workers, and he has a technical term for wage workers, the proletariat. These are the people who earn from wages. They do not possess anything other than their labor power. The capitalists or the bourgeoisie who earn from profits, they do not work, and they earn simply because they have the ownership of means of production. And the middle group in between, the petty bourgeois, a small managerial class, clerical class, a class of small landholders, bankers, in between, something between capitalists and the proletariat. But Marx was clear that this class is on the way out, and eventually in advanced capitalist society we will have only two classes.
Sir, why didn't Karl Marx included agriculturists and the farmers as a separate class in itself? Because they're not labor workers as such.
Our friend has asked an interesting question. Why has Marx not said anything about the landed aristocracy? Actually, it's an interesting question in Marxist analysis of society, in which class is the central concept. The class, as such, the concept of class is very complicated, very complex. And Karl Marx was perhaps aware of this fact that in reality, caste is not such a simple concept as he is using in his analysis of capitalist society. And you will be surprised to hear that although the whole Marxist theory, Marxian theory, all that Marx has written, in that the concept of class is the soul of Marxist literature. Without class, you cannot understand Marxist theory. But Marx has nowhere explained the concept of class. Maybe he found it so complicated that in reality, what does it mean to say that these are the classes and this is the basis of class formation? Perhaps deliberately, he postponed defining caste. We ordinary teachers in introductory sociology courses very clearly and very easily, spontaneously define what caste is. Last time I said this is caste, this is class, this is social class. For us it's very easy. But when you apply your concepts to real life, you find that there is no one-to-one correspondence between concept and the reality. It was toward the end of his life that Marx thought that now perhaps he has matured so much, that he has understood the dynamics of capitalist society so much, that he is in a position to define class more clearly. And at the end of writing The Capital, a thick book, The Capital, which I read, is in 3 volumes published by Progress Publications, Moscow. A very 3 thick volumes, and after that Karl Marx starts writing about class. And then he noticed that yes, landed aristocracy is also one class. When he was coming to give the exact precise definition of class, he died. So the last chapter in which Karl Marx is defining his concept of class remained incomplete. It is only 1.5 pages. And we lack the original real definition of class from one who devoted his whole life to studies of various things, poverty, religion, law, conditions of the working classes, everything in terms of class. Only much later, one German sociologist, Ralph Dahrendorf, he studied all the works of Karl Marx and it's decided that the work which remains unfinished, Marx's chapter on class, the last chapter is on class, he will complete the chapter. Ralph Dahrendorf was obviously a Marxist. He believed in Marxist theory, that's why he would do this. Maybe by the time he finished the chapter on class, and to justify that he is writing this chapter exactly in the same way in which Karl Marx would have written. He used only sentences and phrases from earlier writings of Karl Marx in Capital and other places. So he can claim that this is how Karl Marx would have written his chapter on class. But by then, Dahrendorf had become critical of Marxist theory, and in his subsequent works, in his own theory of social stratification, he provides a rather critique of Marxist theory of social stratification. He is not convinced with Marxist theory of social stratification. This is one. Second thing, you see, in much of the writings, Karl Marx is concerned with capitalist society. And because he is concerned with capitalist society, not a real society, he is as such not analyzing Pittsburgh or Moscow or London or New York or Delhi or Bangalore. He is analyzing a hypothetical, a theoretical society. Capitalist society is a theoretical society. The degree to which different societies of his time, industrially advanced societies, industrially advanced countries and societies of industrially advanced countries, the degree to which they resemble the capitalist society of Karl Marx would vary from one society to another. And in capitalist society, there is no place for agriculture. It's industry based. Capitalist society is an industrial society. You will be surprised to know again that Karl Marx had predicted that England, United Kingdom, England and Wales, United Kingdom would be the first country to become socialist. The reason was that in Marxist scheme of social development, it is the industrially advanced countries which, due to their own internal contradictions, get transformed into the next stage of production, means to socialist society. Marx could not think that USSR, which were industrially much more backward than other European countries of that time, would become the first socialist country. And Karl Marx could just not predict, with his theoretical apparatuses, that China, an agrarian country, can become a socialist country. Karl Marx could not think that Cuba, Yugoslavia, Poland, these countries would become socialist. And Karl Marx would, of course, not accept that India would ever become a socialist country. So this is the reason that Karl Marx was analyzing the dynamics of a capitalist society. A society which emerges from resolution of internal contradictions of feudal society. So feudal to capitalism, capitalism to socialism. He is more concerned He is imagining. Today, in today's language, we will say that all theoreticians imagine. Karl Marx was imagining what would be the nature of a capitalist society. And a capitalist society is industrial society. That is why when we apply Marxist theory to agricultural societies, we say that in agricultural society, a process of mechanization, industrialization and capitalization is on. That agriculture is now being organized on capitalist line. For Karl Marx, capitalist society is only an industrial society. So friends, I was reading from this textbook. I thought that this is a very good paragraph to reveal what I am talking about when I talk about social class or stratification. Let me read this from the beginning. To quote, Aristotle observed 2 millennia ago that populations tended to be divided into 3 groups: the very rich, the very poor, and those in between. For Karl Marx, the principal social classes were the wage workers, the proletariat, and the capitalists, the bourgeoisie, with a middle group, the petty bourgeois, which was on the way out. Adam Smith divided society. Adam Smith, a well-known economist, divided society into those who lived on the rent of land, the wages of labor, and the profits of trade. So there are 3 classes. According to Adam Smith, there are 3 classes. A class which survives on rent of land, wage workers who survive on the wages and the profits. The third class which survives on the profit of trade. Veblen divided society into the workers who struggle for subsistence and a leisure class. Veblen. Subsistence class. According to Veblen, there is a class which struggles for subsistence, just to live, and a leisure class which has become so wealthy. For them, life is a leisure. They don't have to work. They have so much of money. They have to spend their time in leisure. They don't have to work. They have become so wealthy that its main concern is a conspicuous consumption. Conspicuous consumption means what we call consumerism today, showing off. They have so much of money, they don't know how to spend this, and they don't have to work for money. So they involve in conspicuous consumption. Costly houses, costly cars, costly dress, foreign travels, best quality of liquor, sports, clubs. They have to show off because they have so much of money and they don't know what to do, and they do not have to work. So they engage in conspicuous consumption, which proves how far this group has risen above the level of the usual struggle for existence. And Franklin D. Roosevelt in 1937 gave a vivid description of lower class life when he said in his inaugural address, January 20, 1937, I see 1/3 of the nation ill-housed, ill-clad, and ill-nourished. All these descriptions of social class imply that money separates people into distinct groupings. So, money, people differ in money, and that is one important basis of class formation or social stratification. Friends, this was from the past. But if we look at the social reality and classes around us, and the concepts of class formation we are more familiar with, social stratification, in the sense of stable groups, that all societies have certain stable groups which can be ranked in terms of prestige. They are, when I say prestige, they are social classes, wealth, they are economic classes, they differ in terms of wealth, and they are political classes because they also differ in terms of power. Have their own consciousness, you know that you belong to a particular class, identity, a sense of belongingness that yes, I belong to this class. And these classes have their own culture or subculture. If you use the term culture for the culture of the entire society, then different classes or status groups or power groups have their own culture and subculture. In the last discussion on the subject of culture, cultural reproduction, social reproduction, one student indicated that some students who come to IIT Kanpur from a relatively different class background, it may be social, it may be economic, Hindi, they may be bright, but they come from rural, semi-rural background, or from those backgrounds, maybe neo-rich, they have money, business class, or landed aristocracy, they have money, but they are not so comfortable with English. So they find it difficult to adjust in the westernized English milieu of IIT Kanpur. This shows that the distinct social classes also have distinct cultures. Just if you have money, suppose somebody belongs to a lower class, maybe a small farmer or a marginal farmer or a wage laborer, somebody from a relatively lower socio-economic class. As fate has it, he gets a lottery and immediately he becomes rich. He earns 5 crore rupees from lottery or from some other source, from some competition or something. You would still not say that now he belongs to upper class of Indian society. And his children, his family members and he himself will be very uncomfortable if he gets invited to a dinner party from a very rich person or from upper class persons. If you are not from their class, then getting invitation from upper class people for dinner can make you very miserable, depressed. Since I myself belong to that class, I have come from a very low class and I am not a rich or bourgeois, but I have at least traveled up to upper middle class. I know how difficult it is for me to attend dinner parties in upper classes. To attend dinner parties in upper classes, you have to know many things with which middle classes or lower classes are not just familiar. Your friend from upper classes would be talking of countries and parts of the and cities and parts of the cities located in Europe and North America, and you do not know anything about them. When my upper class friends are talking about cultures of New York, I feel uncomfortable. If I am not belong to their culture and they are talking about European and American novels, I feel uncomfortable. Now, from a lower class to upper middle class, your journey can come only if you concentrate on something like your credentials or studies. But studies alone will not make you comfortable in cricket, in chess. Talking about upper class does not mean that they all are expert of chess or lawn tennis and table tennis and or cricket, but they know about characters, important characters of sports, music, culture, art, politics. You have to know much more to become a comfortable part of high class culture. All social classes have their own culture, and these belongingness to these cultures and subculture also affects your opportunities or life chances. That is why we are interested in social stratification. And these aspects of social stratification are present in all types of classes. There are various types of, but there are various bases of class formation or different types of schemes of social stratification in different countries. Sometimes it is based on estate, or sometimes it is based on say religion. A caste society was based on religion. Gisbert is talking about nature of stratification in caste society. It may be based on law, feudal. It may be based on power or force, slavery. People become slaves. Who are slaves? Quite often those people, those tribes or those small groups or those kingdoms which get defeated, they become slaves. People become slaves because they are defeated by other armies, or they become slaves because they do not have money to survive. So they borrow money from some rich people, and subsequently their inability to repay the loan made them slaves. All kinds of systems of slavery existed in India. And in Europe, slavery was most cruel, where the slaves did not have the human status and they could be bought and sold like animals. That was the difference between slave and a serf. A serf or a peasant had some minimum legal rights, some minimum private property, some piece of land, and some money. So, having some money, rights, prestige, and legal status distinguish serfs from slaves, but they all were the lowest part of society in their times. Slavery from power or from wealth, caste from religion, and feudal from law. And when there is no substratum of power, religion, or law, then you have class. No substratum. When all attempts are made to destroy the legal, political, religious, and economic inequalities from society. Then you have class society, social, and this is social inequality without stratification. It is to this kind of situation when there is economic inequality, but there is no political, religious and legal substratum, basis behind the class formation, then this kind of society is called class society. Usually it happens in laissez-faire, in market economy. It's part of inequality in today's industrially advanced or developed countries. Social inequality. You have social inequality. People have not become equal, but there is no social stratification. As in slavery, masters and slaves, very rarely any slave could become a master. The chance of a slave becoming a master was very, very low, almost non-existent. So it was a closed system. Similarly, caste, based on purity and pollution, purity, pollution, concept of purity and pollution, this caste society was divided into certain castes. And if you read Gisbert, then these castes are endogamous, they marry within, they are hierarchical, they are inherited and therefore they are closed. A person belonging to one caste cannot move to upper or lower or some other horizontal class or caste. And quite often there was a close association between caste and occupation. Accordingly, in different parts of the country you find many castes whose names are according to some occupation. Grain parcher, barber, oil spiller, water carrier, genealogists, warriors. These are castes which are associated with certain occupation. Blacksmith, goldsmith, carpenters, potters. These are castes which are associated with occupation. So there is inheritance. Caste is inherited. You are born in a particular caste. Your caste status is ascribed. It's not achieved. Linked with occupation. Linked with identity and culture. Very strong identity of caste. And endogamy. Marrying within the caste. This caste survives because it is an endogamous group. You marry only within caste. Actually, this endogamy also gives us a simple definition to define a caste. Other things are secondary. The most important part of the definition of caste is that it is endogamous. And this also means that the nature and place of caste in social structure has been changing. Some 100 years ago, Yadavs of Haryana, Yadavs of Madhya Pradesh, and within the same state also, Yadavs of Western UP and Yadavs of Eastern UP were different castes. It was unimaginable for a Yadav of Haryana to arrange for his son or daughter's marriage among Yadavs of Bihar. They are two different castes. Among Brahmins, Saryupariye, Kanojia, Gaud, Ayers, Iyengar, in the same state, Iyengars and Ayers lived in the same state. And they fought with each other for status, supremacy. Ayers could not marry Iyengars and Iyengars could not marry Ayers. So those groups within which only marriage is permissible. In Punjab, a Jat, a Hindu Jat can marry a Sikh Jat. But a Hindu Jat cannot marry another Hindu Jat from Rajasthan, which shows that the caste of Hindu and Sikh Jats of Punjab is same. And the caste Jat of Punjab is not same thing as Jat of Rajasthan. Castes are endogamous groups. But because of politicization of caste, modernization, broadening of outlook, we have at least started going beyond these sub-castes. Or in Indian society now, the marriage circle is expanding. There are still circles of marriage, but marriage circle is expanding. So earlier, like Western UP Yadav, this was one endogamous circle. Bihar Yadav, this was another. Madhya Pradesh Yadav, this was another caste. And today, because of politicization, concern for numbers and caste entering politics, and to some extent modernization and broadening of outlook, to some extent because of non-availability of educated and employed grooms in their own circle, and because of networks of caste and consciousness, all these have come together and they form the caste of Yadavs. This has been happening. Caste has not gone, but this is what has happened. So Brahmins, who were earlier divided into hundreds of castes, are now more broadly divided into North Indian Brahmins and South Indian Brahmins. North Indian Brahmins will still not marry South Indian Brahmins, South Indian Brahmins will not marry North Indian Brahmins. But there is a tendency among the conservative people, among the people belonging to your grandfather's generation, these units are still important. And a Bhatnagar cannot marry a Mathur, because Mathurs are superior. Bhatnagars are low. There is a lot of difference. Traditionally, there were varieties of Kayasthas, and Mathurs were at the top, and perhaps Bhatnagars were at the low. And it was unthinkable for a Bhatnagar girl to marry a Mathur boy. But today, all subcategories or all castes of Kayasthas are coming together because they want to increase the number of votes, or they want to expand their influence circle. And for them, all those who identified with Kayasthas are coming together, and you have a caste of Kayasthas. So, Mathurs, Mathur Kayasth, Saxena Kayasth, Bhatnagar Kayasth, like that, many Kayasthas. And now they are coming together and forming K. They have become Kayasthas. So this kind of change. Similarly, Jats, in any one state, Jats of Haryana, not one caste. There were so many castes, so many categories. And Jats of Haryana or Western UP, they know how many categories of Jats are there. Only you could marry within the caste, but outside the Gotra. This is Khaps are insisting on, Gotras. Now we say, according to Hindu code, Sapinda marriage is not permitted. 6 generations from father's side, 4 generations from mother's side, they are called Sapindas. And you cannot marry a Sapind because the other person, from 6 generations from father's side, 4 generations from mother's side, they are like your brothers and sisters. And you marry outside Gotra but within the caste. So this was the nature of caste, and the nature of caste is changing. And this caste or caste-like distinction is present everywhere, in other religions also, among Muslims. You have Ajlafs, or at the top, ashrafs and ajlafs. Ashrafs are pure, ajlafs are impure, like pure, impure of Hindus. Dvijas, Hindu society was divided into Dvijas and Papyoni. Dvij. The meaning of Dvij was twice born. There were some Dvij and some Papyoni. Impure birth. Pure birth, Dvij, twice born, and Papyoni. Brahmins, Kshatriyas, and Vaishyas, they were Dvij. They had two births. One physical birth and another birth of samskaras. So after performing certain rituals, they have a second birth and they are superior. They are pure. And Papyoni, other castes, or those outside the caste system, they are Papyoni. They have only physical birth and they are deprived of certain sanskaras which lead to second birth. Exactly same division is found in Muslims. Ashrafs and Ajlafs. Ashrafs are pure. They are the descendants of those who came from outside India. They are the pure Muslims. Ajlafs are usually low caste Hindus who at some point of time for some other reason, political reason, economic reason, cultural reason, for some reason, they got converted to Islam. And that distinction, if you, most of you are Hindu and you may not be familiar with Muslim social organization. So for many of you, it may come as a surprise, but this is a fact. And if you do not believe me, see the Muslim matrimonials. And the Muslim matrimonials will, matrimonials are certainly not published by Government of India or Planning Commission. Matrimonials are given by private individuals who are looking for a suitable bride or groom. So what the matrimonials will show the existing structure or social organization of a society. Ashrafs, pure, descendants of those who came from outside. They may write in their name Sheikh, Sayyid. They are Sheikh, Sayyid, Pathan and Mughal. Sheikh, Sayyid, Pathan and Mughal, they are Ashrafs, pure, like Dvijas. And all others, like Ansaris, Qurashis, these people belong to the Ajlaf caste. So there is a twofold division of Muslim society in India. Among Sikhs also, all Sikhs are not same. Although theoretically or going by religion, everybody is equal, everybody has the same status. In the eyes of everybody is made by God, and in the eyes of God, everybody is alike. God has made everyone a human being. And Guru Granth Sahib and all our religious books talk of equality. Treat all human beings as one. But in practice, a Jat is a Jat, and a Mazhabi Sikh who got converted perhaps from one of the lowest castes of Hindus, maybe scavengers or maybe leather workers, mostly scavengers, health workers, they are Mazhabi. So Jat Sikhs, considered Jat Sikh or Khatri Sikhs, trading community, they are at the top, and Mazhabi Sikhs are at the bottom. Interestingly, in that part of India, Brahmins never had any influence. So there is not much interaction or much influence of Brahminism on social organization of Sikhs, or even on social organization of Hindus in Punjab, Haryana, Sindh, that part of the continent. But within themselves, these people are divided along caste lines. Social stratification is found among Christians also. So you have Syrian Christians, like Nambudris, like Nayars, Christians at the top. So they believe that they are those Christians who got converted to Christianity about 2 millennia ago by Saint Thomas, a direct disciple of Christ. He came to India to preach Christianity, and they believe that purely for spiritual religious reasons, not because of any greed or any political influence or any money or anything other, purely for religious reasons, purely because some people living there in today's Kerala got influenced by the Christian philosophy, Christian religion, and they started recognize that Jesus Christ, the Son of God, is the real Savior, and all other religions are in dark. They are only other forms of magic, witchcraft, superstitions, and their gods and goddesses are false. They got converted to Christianity, and many of them believe that mostly it was the highest caste of it, Hindu social organization at that time, most possibly the Brahmins, who got converted to Christianity. And Syrian Christians find themselves much closer to Hindu Brahmins, Nambudri paths of Kerala, rather than with other Christians, Goan Christians or other Christians who are believed to have been converted from lower caste. So you should not be surprised if you visit a church in Sri Lanka, in Tamil Nadu, in Kerala, where they are all Christians. But for entering the church, there are separate queues of Syrian Christians, or there are separate churches. There are separate churches of Syrian Christians and other Christians. In Bihar, they are still fighting. In several villages and towns, there are separate graveyards of Ashrafs and Ajlafs. Even after death, one's caste does not change. So you remain in the same caste in which you are born. After death also your caste does not change. So there are quite frequent fights in many parts of Bihar where Ashrafs will not permit Ajlafs to take their dead bodies in their graveyards, because they are Ashrafs and bodies of Ajlafs can pollute them. Not permitted. This is what social stratification means. If you use a more secular kind of social division, in place of caste or caste-like situation, you can divide people on a more secular basis and say there are upper classes, middle classes, and lower classes. Then also social stratification remains. One sociologist who used this kind of categorization, upper, middle, lower, one American sociologist, W.L. Warner, made a detailed study of social stratification in the Western context and divided social classes into these kinds of categories: upper, middle, lower. Upper can further be divided into 2 or 3 categories: upper, upper, lower, upper, upper middle, lower middle, upper, lower, 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 that kind of. Who would be upper of India? Lower, upper, upper middle, lower middle, upper lower and lower. Suppose I say that in Indian society today there are 6 different strata. Upper, lower, this is upper, this is lower, this is middle, and this is lower. Lower class, in between, or middle class, and upper class. It will be very difficult for us to divide exactly who fits where. We can best define lower and upper. Maybe in upper we will put families which have been affluent, powerful, high status for several generations. Certain families of Tatas, maybe now in the second generation Ambanis also can be put there. Gandhi family, Indira Gandhi, now Sonia Gandhi, Motilal Nehru, Jawaharlal Nehru, Rajiv Gandhi, now Sonia Gandhi, Gandhi family. Maybe today, if I ask you to place somewhere Bachchans, are Bachchans upper or lower upper or upper middle? There will be some confusion. It will be easy to define only upper and lower. Who is lower? Lower is one who has irregular employment. Casual worker, maybe in rural areas, maybe in urban areas. In urban areas, a casual worker, a domestic worker with irregular employment, living in slum-like situation. In rural areas, a casual worker, agricultural worker, maybe still lower, or you can say, like those suffering from certain disabilities because of which they cannot become a full member of even working classes. People suffering from disabilities and absolutely irregular employment, lower. Now the problem here is in distinguishing between different, usually upper middle is also easier to define because this is the class, managerial class based on credentials, top executives, on the basis of BTechs and MBAs, and lower executives, maybe you can say in upper lower, clerks in certain industries and certain branches of government, though many clerks will found it to be quite offensive if you say that they belong to lower class of Indian society, maybe upper lower, but they would say that no, we are not lower upper, we are not upper lower, we are the middle class. I was reading in newspaper one day comments of a taxi driver. Taxi driver was referring to situation of inflation and saying that if prices keep on rising like this, what will be the fate of children of middle classes like ours. So the taxi driver was identifying himself with the middle class. From your perspective, a taxi driver may belong to a lower class, but from his own perspective, the taxi driver belongs to middle class. This also means whether your perspectives are objective or subjective, based on certain criteria, or they are based on self-perception. Sometimes we belong to a higher class or a lower class on subjective basis. Objectively speaking, you are not part of that. Dhirubhai Ambani, if somebody asks you to classify Dhirubhai Ambani would not be part of upper. He did not come from an aristocratic family. At best, you could put him in lower upper, or sociologists have a new term for this, neo-rich, who have acquired wealth and who have newly become rich. In the next lecture, I will talk about theories of social stratification, and I stopped this lecture just by saying that there are certain unilinear theories of social stratification and there are multivariate, multidimensional or multivariate. To use a more statistical term, multivariate. There are unilinear theories, there are multivariate theories. When you divide people into three groups on the basis of very rich to very poor, and middle class in between, you have a unilinear kind of theory, or you say capitalist, proletariat, and in between petty bourgeois. Capitalist or bourgeois at the top, proletariat at the bottom, petty bourgeois somewhere in between. You have a unilinear theory.